Hello everyone, welcome back to Tinateach HTML. Today we'll be talking about a very special HTML tag called div. So it's a short form for division. It's basically a division tag, and since it has quite a bunch of information, I'm gonna divide it into two parts, and this is part one. Part one, we'll be looking at having div as a container and then positioning divs, okay? Because very often in practice, the division tag is used as a container for other tags. So it's very much like a blank canvas where you just put whatever you want in it, and it's very often used that way. We'll also be looking at the different CSS that are often used for div and its content as well. So first off, div as a container. First of all, div is a block element. I'm going to explain that in a bit, what a block element does. Basically, it will take up all of the available spaces from left to right. Okay. It also has a line break before and after. So if you have multiple divs in your HTML file, they will be displayed top to bottom, right? Because of the line breaks. I have an example here. We have a div, so this is the first container, and in the first container we have hello world, and we have another container, a second div that's nestled in the first div, and in the second div we have my name is James, okay? And so how this will display is that we have hello world up here, and then my name is James down here. All block elements have this property where it will simply take as much space as possible from left to right, regardless of content or whatever is surrounding it. We'll try to be as big as possible. Okay, and that's how block elements are. Certainly, since div is shorthand for division, you can use div to group sections of your website. Let's say your website has like a catalog of clothing, for example. You can use div for shirt section or like the dress section. Makes it very easy to navigate, to code, to look at. It's also very easy for the browsers to figure out which section is which section, and it helps with SEO and user navigation and all that good stuff. Now, to center align div, to center align a div that is not 100% wide, you simply, why do I have an arrow there? You simply set the CSS margin to auto, okay? Neat little trick, margin auto is very common with the whole repositioning ordeal. You don't need to use this in div alone, you can use it in a lot of other tags and elements as well. Now with multiple div, as I've mentioned before, if you have multiple divs, they will be this one, top to bottom, and it just goes down like that. So let's analyze the code for a little bit. We have our good old div container, and in this div we have h1, so header 1 with the title. So as you can imagine, the title will be quite big, and under the title we have the paragraph or the p tag, and we handle our content there. Then we close our div, and we have another one that has very similar, well, it has basically the same elements that's in it, and these will be grouped top to bottom. Now before the demonstration, I want to head on to talk about floating div. Floating sounds very fun, but it's not originally intended to be used as a repositioning tool, okay? But in practicality, most people have been using float property to align divs side by side, okay? From my personal experience, aligning elements side by side just by themselves is quite simple, but when you introduce a lot of elements surrounding them, on top of them, beneath them, and all of the fancy schmancy content that's within them, aligning them side by side, combining with the margin and the padding that you want, can be quite complicated if you don't have a good mental image of all of the layers and all of the hierarchies that the HTML elements are being coded. So first off, I have a class. You can know it's a class because of this little dot over here. If it was an ID, it would be a hashtag. And I have a class of container with the width of 100%, so it'll take, left to right the whole page. And overflow is auto. I don't know if I've mentioned this in my previous lessons, but with overflow auto, the elements, if somehow there's too much content within an HTML element, the content would overflow, right? It simply would overflow outside of the range of that. But it does not actually get outside of the container boundary. We'll simply get a scroll, right? And then we can scroll down and we can watch the content, or we can read the content. So that's what overflow auto does. It just gives you a scroll bar for any content that expanded outside of the boundary of that container element. And now we're referencing all of the div that's inside of this container class. And the div is 25% for width and float left. So all of them will be to the left of each other. So first off, let's have a simple div with hello. Let's have another one. Div James. Okay, let's close both of them. We want to see the default line breaks before and after of the div elements. Let's create another one here. Hello, div Jessica. Okay. Don't forget to close both of them, and I'm gonna assign a class to Jessica. I'm gonna make it name and class div Jessica container would be more fitting, I feel like. Jessica container. Let's make this Jessica main. Jessica car, okay. And let's have Jessica container width is auto, okay. Background color. Let's go down here and let's work on Jessica name. Width is 25%. 25%. And margin is auto. We want to center align Jessica name. Okay, now let's go down here and let's create a bunch of divs. I'm gonna make it high. That's it. And I'm gonna give it a class. You can actually assign the same class to multiple elements. I wouldn't recommend doing that to ID because the purpose of ID is to have a higher precedence, priority. And HTML gets, kind of quirky when you treat ID like class. So I wouldn't recommend it. Let's work on high. Float left. Okay, as you can see here, hello James. There, James is underneath hello, and the same with Jessica, and hi is side by side, as opposed to acting like hello James and hello Jessica. Now let's give Jessica some background color. I forgot. Background color yellow. So this is 25% and it is at the center. Okay. Now, do you know how to make the text align be center as well? Very simply, just type in text align and center. So that's it for today's lesson. Thank you for tuning in. Our next topic is going to be div 2. Hopefully you'll catch up with that as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Bye.